Wednesday Night Poetry. My name is Kimberly Ann Priest and I am at Reed State Park in Maine. This is the Atlantic Ocean behind me and it is churning today because it is cold, it is windy, the rocks are icy, and I have either bravely or stupidly come out on them to read to you this poem. I am going to read a poem to you today that requires a little bit of context. I was married for 15 years to a man who eventually came out as gay. Of course, I found out several years into the marriage that this was the case, and rather than allowing our relationship to dissolve, he became more and more violent and did me quite a bit of harm, to the point where I have been diagnosed with severe PTSD. Not an easy story to tell. Stories of harm in general are not easy to tell, and it's hard to hold space for myself as someone who was harmed, while also holding space for his story as an individual who is harmed by our culture, who is told that he cannot be a certain way, namely homosexual. So it's not an easy story, and often when I tell it, the sympathy goes more his direction because of his experience as a gay man rather than my direction, which is hard. It makes it harder for me to tell it, but nevertheless, I'm doing so. I'm trying to hold space for all of the harm, trying to hold space for my story as well as his story, and have as much compassion on myself as I feel I should have towards him as a gay man. So, welcome to my story and this poem that involves touch or lack thereof, my own pain as a woman who did not get to experience what I would consider normal in a marriage relationship. Thank you for coming along. Here we go. Gomorrah. There are dead things, bright dead things, says the poet Adalimon, in my flower sink. Plant scraps like leftover paper after cutting something out. Green pieces dead, but not dead yet. Sitting at the bottom of my sink, weighted. My murderous hands caressing each stem and leaf. As I repent to myself, I'm so sorry I had to chop you off. There was no proof of anything, no incrimination, no criminal. Only indifference to my suppled back and breasts. Only the flowers you brought home as expected. Only that sometimes you were not at work when I called, though you told me you would be. The bed sheets still smell of your sweat, the scent steaming after I shower and roll my body around underneath the covers to feel all of the mattress space. I am glad your sweat has not washed out, as I am glad you are no longer in my bed. Once, you nearly used a handful of my hair to move me in sleep, but stopped yourself. Many times I touched your hair while you slept to satisfy my grief. I hold my scissors over the sink and prune a few more stems from the lower layers of this philodendron. Strong totems spearing upward from its leafy bush, leaves dropped around at its terracotta base as though in ceremony, like the dark, warm pain that smoldered and danced around my empty city till it tuned. When I saw the tiny box embedded on our computer, two tangled, naked, miniature men, bodies tightly wound in a casket-size embrace. The sex of it, so foreign to my limbs, I lingered and clicked. Thank you for joining me in Maine. Thank you for joining us at Wednesday Night Poetry. And thank you for listening to my story.